Shalom, shalom. I have gotten a bunch of messages about people asking me about the feast days. I've also seen statuses and posts about people who are not keeping the feast days because they don't know what to do. And I've also seen information about people who are just confused, just in general. And not that this is probably going to change all of your confusion, not that it's going to even help as much as I probably think it will. I know how I feel about this particular parable, but I wanted to make sure that you were able to at least have something in your mind that would calm some of the some of the fears about the negative side of doing things for the Father, because there is this thing floating around that is very religious and not really practical. Said all that. Okay, so shalom to everyone that's watching. I'm going to read Matthew. We're going to Matthew 25, and this is going to actually be really short, hopefully. Matthew chapter 25. And in Matthew 25, there are a bunch of parables, all seemingly having the same meaning. I've heard them be isolated and taught in different ways, but the overall meaning goes back to dealing with the coming or the judgment of the Hamashiach. Okay, so that's the basis of the meaning in these parables. And we'll actually go a little bit further after the parable we're going to read, so you can kind of see that. All right, so we're going to start at Matthew 25, and we're going to go to verse 14. It says, "For the kingdom of Shamayim, or heaven, is as a man traveling into a far country, who called his own servants and delivered unto them his goods. And unto one he gave 5 talents, to another 2, and to another 1, to every man according to his several ability, and straightway took his journey. Then he that received the 5 talents went and traded with that same talent, and made them other 5 talents. And likewise he that hath received 2, he also gained other 2. But he that had received 1 went and digged in the earth, and hid his lord or his master's money. After a long time, the master of those servants cometh, and reckoneth with them. And so he that hath received 5 talents came, brought other 5 talents, saying, Master, thou deliverest, or thou gave me 5 talents, and here I have gained beside them 5 more. And his master said unto him, Well done, thou good and faithful servant. Thou hast been faithful over a few things. I will make thee ruler over many things. Enter thou into the joy of thy master. And he said, and he also that had received 2 talents came and said, Master, thou gave me 2 talents, and behold, I have gained 2 other talents beside them. His master said unto him, Well done, good and faithful servant. Thou hast been faithful over a few things. I will make thee ruler over many things. Enter thou into the joy of thy master. Then he which received the 1 talent came and said, Master, I knew thee, that thou art a hard man, reaping where thou hast not sown, and gathering where thou hast not strawed. And I was afraid, and went and hid thy talent in the earth. Lo, there thou hast that is thine. So he gave him back what was his, the 1 talent. His master answered and said unto him, Thou wicked and slothful servant, thou knewest that I reapest where I sowed not, and gathered where I have not strawed. Thou ought therefore to have put my money to exchangers, and then at my coming I should have received mine own with usury. Take therefore the talent from him, and give it unto which hath 10 talents. For unto one that hath unto everyone that hath sorry, for unto everyone that hath shall be given, and he shall have abundance. But from him that hath not, shall be taken away, even that which he hath. And cast ye the unprofitable servant into outer darkness. There shall be weeping and gnashing of teeth. Go to verse 31, just to bring it all together. When the Son of Man shall come in his glory, and all the holy angels with him, then shall he sit upon the throne of his glory. And before him shall be gathered all the nations, and he shall separate them one from another, as a shepherd divideth his sheep from the goats. And he shall set the sheep on his right hand, but the goats on the left. Then shall the king say unto them on his right hand, Come, ye blessed of my Father, inherit the kingdom prepared for you from the foundation of the world. Okay, I'm going to stop there. The reason why we're covering this, just if you jumped in late, is because I've seen and I've heard the dialogue about people not taking, letting fear, I should say, because I don't think it's not that people don't take it seriously, letting fear keep one from participating or doing feast days. And this thing can be applied in different scenarios, but for this point, we're going to apply it to this. The parable of the talent, we saw the man, he got 5, 2, and 1. And you heard the story. The one we're going to deal with is a person with the 1 talent. Right now, we are living in a time where a lot of things are happening. And with a lot of things are happening, you have a lot of voices and a lot of people, and you have a lot of contention, and you have a lot of confusion. And the confusion is crippling people who are who don't really understand the nature of the Father and the spirit behind what he's asking us to do. Okay. You have those people who say we can't keep the feast because we're in captivity. Well, those of you who have read or been through the Day of Atonement, what you'll learn about the Day of Atonement as one of the feasts is that is the feast where you need to keep wherever you are. So you don't want to get so caught up. Second, dealing with this man or this person with the 1 talent, he thought that he had the master pegged in his mind. He said, I know you. You don't deal with, you sow and you handle your business a certain way. And I don't know how to do your business like you're going to do your business. So it's better for me to not do no business at all. A lot of us, if we admit it, have been at that place. And through reading and studying, you begin to see the Father's heart. The reason why I push reading the scripture so hard and not just grabbing it and finding videos and listening to things is because that reading portion allows you to know the Father's heart. And that is so, so, so important, because when you know his heart, it allows you to better perform the things that he has asked you to do. Yesterday, we talked about this idea of prayer during Shabbat, and prayer being that thing that connects. It creates an attachment. And a lot of what we pray should be what we have read. Jonathan Roberts, of course, it's not a feast day because you're not eating. So thank you for that. And it's not disrespectful at all. But I think that's kind of implied. It's a day of affliction. Okay, so the feast days are all called feast days. Those days, those set apart days, those appointed times are to be kept because they are the Father's the appointed times, and it is something that he has treasured us as a people with, just like the talent. You have people who are not doing them because they can't do them perfectly. And what it's causing us to do is revert to the mind of a Christian. In the Christian mind, you would rebuttal a person saying you have to keep the laws. You don't have to keep the laws. They would say we don't have to keep the laws because we cannot do them perfectly. And we're encountering that same spirit and that same heart within this walk with people who are like, well, I'm new and I don't want to displease the Father. If you could just think about the words of the person with the 1 talent, and think about what a lot of us are saying, then you could almost see ourselves, all of us at one time or another, in that, where it's like, well, you were going to destroy people because they didn't do it perfectly. You were going to be upset because I didn't know exactly how to do it, so I just didn't do it at all. What you can see from that parable is when the master responds, he calls his commentary on him wicked. He's like, first of all, I gave you the talent according to your ability. So I already knew what you were capable of when I gave you the talent. I gave you one because I probably knew you weren't capable of doing what the person that I gave 5 was capable of doing, but you were capable of doing something. There are some 5 talent people out there who have it down. I mean, their Shabbat and their atonement and their trumpets and their Passover is like, I mean, like flawless. They've been doing it. They have done it so well that they have perfected it. And there are some of us or others who are newer. And it's like, okay, as I'm keeping these feasts, I am learning new things about the Father and about myself. And I can constantly modify while I have time those things in order to yield better fruit, right? That is the idea of the sowing process. I've given you something to sow with. So do you think that the person had the 5 talents, when he went out to trade the master's money, he did it so perfectly that he never went down in the hole and then came back up? Did he do it so flawlessly? We don't get that. All we know is that whatever he was given, he worked on it until the master returned and was able to yield him back something. Same thing for the man with 2 talents. But the person with 1 talent had a misunderstanding about the Father and was so bold about it that he spoke it to the Father. He spoke it to the master. I mean, obviously, the picture of the master is the one who gave the coin or the talent, and he spoke it to him like he was so sure about it, and the master was taken aback. He was like, "Wow, that's what you thought." He said, "If you really felt that way, why didn't you invest or partner with a money exchanger? At least the money exchanger would have taken it and would have at least done the work for you and showed you like, hey, okay, put this 1 talent here, and I could at least gain interest on based upon somebody else's understanding." The issue that we're having with the set apart days or with our appointed times is that we are confused. And confusion is from the adversary. Confusion cripples you. It makes you do nothing. If you're confused about something, you will do nothing. You will just stay in that one little place and you're just like trembling and scared and you don't want to do anything. Because you're so afraid that if I don't do it on this day, at this time, just like this, just like this, just like this, then I'm going to be destroyed. And the problem is not that you didn't do it on the right time. The issue is you're not going to do it at all. You're not going to do it at all. Yeah, being a father can work with somebody who tries more than he can work with somebody who's not going to do anything. The definition of Torah, and that's why sometimes you hear me use Torah in a broader sense, not just about the first 5 books. The definition of Torah is instruction. It has to do with the idea of taking an arrow or an object and shooting it forth at a target. And as you shoot forth at the target, that is your effort. Your effort is that you're shooting and you're aiming at the target. And you might not hit the bullseye when you aim at the target. So, yes, you missed the mark. But the fact that you shot toward the target gives the person who is instructing you the ability to then correct your bad aiming. But if you never shoot toward the target, then you never have the opportunity to then have your aim corrected. So what's happening with a lot of people is they're year after year and appointed time after appointed time, not even shooting at the target. So guess what? When the master returns, you'll be at the same 1 talent place you were when you started in this walk because you allowed your lack of ability to shoot to keep you from even trying. And it's so prevalent within our community because we do it with other things. As a people, as a Hebrew people, we don't even try new things because we're like afraid of how it's going to taste. Or I've never done that before, so I'm not going to try it. And we miss out on so many opportunities for growth and for experience and for change just because we don't know how to do something. I'm going to submit to you today that that is the highest level of pride. The reason why this servant was cast away is because of his pride. You think that you have to be perfect like me? You're not me. I know you're not me. I knew you were not like me when I chose you. When he tells us as a people why he chose us, he said, I didn't choose you because you were great or the mightiest or the most perfect or the most obedient. I chose you because I chose you, and I chose you because I was going to work with you. But to not allow me to work with you is the problem. You won't even put forth the effort because really your fear is your excuse. Your lack of preparation is your excuse, and it's your pride. You have then put something above the Father. You've put something above him. And I know that's hard because it's difficult to make that type of claim when we know the condition of our people and we know that we are not the most financially stable people. We have money, we're not financially stable because we lack preparation because of our doubt and because of our fear. When it comes to feast days and it comes to whether you keep them and travel outside the country, whether you keep them and travel within the country, while we were in our captivity, we're doing the best that we can. We are all scattered. So you're not making the preparation. You have all year long. Even if you don't even know the exact day that the feast day is on, you know that those appointed times are coming around and you're not preparing for them. You even have those of you all who don't support or tithe in a biblical sense, however you want to put it, who are not setting apart their money. You're not even setting apart the Father's money to attend feast days. You're just spending it like it's yours, and then you say you don't have the money or the resources to fly or to drive or to come to a feast day or to buy a tent or to help cover the whatever is needed if you're putting on a bigger event. We really have to stop playing these silly games. We have to stop because the Father sees through them. You're like, oh, okay, so you didn't set aside 10%, 20%, 30%, any percent of what was considered to be mine. And you didn't even use it to give it back to me. You use it on yourself and then complained or told me or told somebody else you couldn't do it because you didn't have the finances. I gave you the finances. I gave you a job. I instructed you how to put aside money. Even if you just put aside the money to attend the feast day, if you're not giving to a congregation, you should never not have money to attend feast days. That doesn't make any sense because at least the minimum part of Yah's out of yours, even under the order of Melchizedek, is 10%. If you put out aside 10% out of your check every month and didn't give it to anybody, saved it, you would have enough money to choose where you wanted to keep your feast. You could fly, you could take your whole family. But we're playing around like we like we don't have it, or oh yeah, you didn't give it to me. And yeah, it's like I gave you your portion. I gave you what you could be a good steward over. I gave you your one talent or your two talent or your five talents. And the least you could do was present yourself to me during my appointed times. But then you come back to me and tell me, well, you weren't going to be pleased because I didn't know exactly how to do it, or I didn't have this, I didn't have that. And the Father's like, this wickedness. That's a level of wickedness that he's not even going to deal with. He's just like, you're wicked. I'm done with you. I'm going to give your one to the person that showed themselves faithful, because everybody's an opportunity to show themselves faithful. It's those who are just going to say, I'm just not going to do it. I'm just, you know what? I don't trust you. I don't trust that you're not going to handle me harshly. I don't trust. And it's just like, okay, well, if you don't trust me when I've already trusted you, then that's it. I'm done with you because I've given you an opportunity. And the fact that the master is giving us opportunity to even participate after we have been scattered and rejected, and is allowing us to humble ourselves and to come back to him. And people are saying, you know what? No, I'm good, but I want to come into the kingdom. I want to be in the kingdom, and I want to be there, but I don't want to show that I'm even worthy of being counted one of yours by at least trying. Nobody would accept that from anyone. Nobody would. You wouldn't accept that from your spouse. You wouldn't expect that from you wouldn't accept that from your children. You wouldn't accept that from your friends. Like that's like your friend saying, you telling your friend, hey, can you pick this up for me? And I'm saying, well, I know if you did it, you would do it better. So it's better if you just do it yourself. That's really what you're saying. Like, yeah, I'll do it when I can do it with you, but you trying to get me to do it by myself makes I don't know how many of you are musicians, but in music, teacher and the teacher teaches you how to play the violin or the piano or whatever. And in doing so, they are the master, they are the teacher, they know better than you at how to do it. But for your child or for you to come to your piano lesson and say, you know what, you already know how to play this song, you play it, and then I'll just listen because I'm never going to be as good as you. That's like, who in the history of Hebrewdom ever just like does that? The whole process of keeping the feast, of following Torah, is a refining process, a learning process. If everybody got into the truth and kept it perfectly, there would be no need to do anything. The reason for doing it is that as you do it, you learn more about yourself, you learn more about the Father, and you begin to understand it by doing. That's why I have such a big problem with Hebrews who don't keep feasts and Christians who don't even participate, because you don't know what you don't know. You do not know what you do not know, because you won't know it until you start doing it. It's just that's how it is. And so I'm just encouraging people that in this time of preparation and refinement within the land of our captivity, no, we can't do it perfect. We are outside of our land. We don't have a nation and a people who are doing all these things the same. But if you can do it amongst the heathen, how much more can you do it with in perfect condition? That is the test. If you can do it outside without all of the bells and whistles, with all the distractions, and with all these things, and how much more could you do it in a perfect condition? In scripture, and I'm gonna try to find it because this is really important. In scripture, the Father tells our ancestors that he was going to leave the nations, the Canaanites, among them to prove them. And that stood out to me so much. I'm going to leave them there so that with them around, will you still do what you're supposed to do? So the same thing is true within captivity. In captivity, as you are trying to do the things that are nearly impossible seeming without the right condition, as you are trying your best to do them, right? Will you stay steadfast amongst the nations who are in opposition, all your family, all your friends? How much so? Because anybody can say, oh, I can do it, Father, in the land. Take me back to the land, surround me with a bunch of Hebrews, and I bet you I'm going to do it. You're going to be just as confused, because if you think you're confused now and you haven't done anything, how you're not even going to know how to do anything. You're not even going to know what to do when he says, okay, bring me this, do this, make sure you do this. You're gonna be like, oh man, I've never practiced that. And then you're gonna be looking at somebody else, and it's gonna be a mess. It's gonna be a mess. But if you start doing it, what you'll do is you'll be, practice makes perfect. And also, practice makes permanent. You won't be able to take it out of your head. So not only are you depriving yourself, but the ones who are watching, it's not about you, it's about those children. They need to see other Hebrews. They need to fellowship with other people. They need to know. And you need to find, if you are leery, read the scripture. When we first started keeping feasts, I did. Okay, I'm back. Sorry about that. My phone overheated, so I'm going to try to keep it quick because I'm in the car. But I found that verse while I was waiting for my phone to cool down. It's Judges 2:22, and it says that let me go back one verse. It says, I will not henceforth drive out from before them of the nations which Joshua left when he died. That's 2:21, Judges 2:21. He says that through them I may prove Israel whether they will keep the way of Yahuwah to walk therein as their fathers did keep it, or not. Okay, that's the important part. We have to we're being proved. It's a proving process. It's a refining process. That is what captivity is for y'all's people. It is a refining process. And as we are going through this process, we have to make sure that he's watching. He is a perfect gardener. You can't fool him like, oh, I'm so ready to go back home and y'all come get us and oh, we can't wait and he sees through all of that. Sees through all of that. All of that. And he's like, no, you're not, and you're staying because you're not ready. You're not ready. If I bring you back, there is no more captivity. There is no more prophecy for captivity. The only thing left for the nations and the world and for all of those who reject him and his way and his salvation is death. And so as a good master, he, like the man on the journey in the parable of talents in Matthew 25, he took a long journey and took his time to give everybody time. Okay, so honestly, we're not ready as a nation. And we're not ready because we keep making excuses. That is why 2/3 of y'all Hebrews are not gonna make it. You're not even gonna try. You're not even gonna try. Scripture tells us that when the Hamashiach returns and when he reigns and when he brings us back, he is going to correct us. He's going to draw us into all truth and correct us. So because he said that, you know that in the process of doing things, anything that you may be doing wrong, unless it's just blasphemous, like if you're non-messianic, ain't no correction for that. You can't stand before the king being non-messianic and say, oh, I didn't believe in you. Oh, now I do because I see you. It doesn't work like that. That has never worked. Even Christians don't believe that. So the issue is in all those things of refining and doing things the best you can, know that those things will be corrected, but to not do them and to not try the best you can is not an option. That's not the option. I saw something about tithes. I think I did a video on tithes before. So if that question was about that, you might want to go there. If you have an understanding of the New Testament and you have an understanding of the order of Melchizedek, it's not a thing of priests because we don't have priests in that sense. It's a nation of priests. So it has everything to do with this idea of those who are over you. You might have to go and research it. If you want to check out that video, you can check out the video and then write me back about tithes. But my issue is you still have a portion of Yah's. It's a greater thing on this side. You are a living sacrifice. Actually, how it's supposed to work on this side is because of what he's done, we should have all things common. There should be no one lacking. It shouldn't just be widows, orphans, and Levites. There should be no one lacking because those who have more and those who have little put theirs together, and everybody is supposed to be able to balance out and be able to all have. There should be no one lacking within our community. We're not looking at this point for a Torah reason to do it. We're going on a higher law, which is if I see my brother or my sister without something and I have it, it's theirs. It's off like off GP. It's just because like if I got $1 and you need 50 cents and I don't even need the whole dollar, you can have the whole dollar, because that's how it should be. Our hearts should be in that way. But what I'm saying is stewardship is in tithing. The issue with our people is they don't understand stewardship. That's why they don't have nothing. That is the issue. It's not that we don't have, it's that we don't properly steward what we have. You might just have the one talent, but you don't have nothing because you holding so tight to the one and burying the one. You're not even willing to even see what would happen as a family. But as a group and as a community, as we begin to live together and keep these appointed times together, what you will see is the manifestation of community. Sukkot is a beautiful feast for the manifestation or community. It's the thing. You are supposed to actually be bringing with you things when you come to Sukkot, not just to give to somebody else, but so that you have something to share. People prepare all year to have something. So whether you bring wine or liquor or food or things just from your side of the country or from the world where these people traveled back to for these traveling feasts, they brought them so that they could share and barter and do different things. It creates a sense of community and it brings in people who have been scattered out for a long time. We have to learn how to grow together. We have to learn how to live together. We have to learn how to trust Yah and allow him to do the perfecting. That was my whole point. I'm sorry if it went longer than I wanted to go, but it has really been bothering me because I've been there. I have been there, and I know it feels like to be like, okay, well, this group is saying this, and the Jews say you got to tear your toilet paper before the Shabbat because tearing your toilet paper is working. I've seen all of that confusing stuff, and the father grabbed me, like, you know, you grab your kid by the shirt, and you be like, literally grabbed me and said, read what I said, do what I said. And I talked to my mom about it. My mom's in Torah. And I talked to my mom about it, and she says he's not going to reveal to you the next truth until you obey the first truth. And the first truth is what he has written down. You do what Yah says and leave the consequences to him and on him. It's much better to go to the Father and say, I read in your word and I understood it like this. I read it. I didn't go to this camp and this person get their interpretation. I read and you said on the 10th day of the first month of the this, do this. And that is exactly what I did to the best of my ability. You are calling the Father evil if you think when you do that, he's going to say, really? You was in captivity. You didn't even know what day it was. So you did all that wrong anyways. Get out of my face. That's really, really how you feel about Yah. Because if that's how you feel about Yah, you shouldn't be following Yah because you have it all the way messed up. The Father would then say, wow, okay, I see how, okay. When I said this, I meant da. Now go back and try it again. That goes back into this whole 3-part thing I did on prayer. That's where prayer comes in. You do these things and then you bring them for refinement and evaluation. That's what we should be doing. At the end of every feast, when we keep them, we look at things we could have did differently. We ask people, what would you have liked to have gone differently? What did you see when we were amongst the camp and with using the restroom and with how we cared for the children or with how we fed everybody and with how we worshiped and how we had the schedule set up and how was your traveling arrangements? Was this a good spot to keep it? Should we keep it somewhere else? You begin to take those things apart. Were there contentions? How do we deal with those contentions? Could we have done it more on Torah when we just put somebody out the camp? Should we have taken more time? And you're going to begin to look at Torah to refine the way that you live, and then you're going to apply it to everyday life. You're going to do that. You're going to do it. And the Father doesn't ever take away something to not give you something greater. And he has given us such you're giving something much greater when you're given his feast days and days to really, really to fellowship with him. All right. Yeah, that's all I have. I just want to really encourage you. If you haven't made arrangements and you're doing it right here, right now, at this time, you just gonna wing it. Do the best you can. I know a brother who was like, man, we made a tent. We live in an apartment. We literally stayed under a table in our house when we slept and we did things. The purpose of the feast, the overall purpose of the feast days in general is to tell you or to remind you of your condition. It reminds you of all the human condition, the human experience. Your condition as a people in exile it's reminding you in the land of captivity that this is not your home. It's a reminder, and you need to take that seriously. It's also preparation for the wilderness process and to see what it was like for our ancestors who lived and journeyed outside of their land in a strange place without all these provisions, with the hope of returning and tabernacling amongst the Father. Tabernacles is the one feast that is kept throughout eternity. The tabernacle of Yah will be with man. So the preparation is to understand that process and to be able to get along and live in harmony with the tabernacle of Yah, meaning him and his salvation being in one place at one time, dwelling amongst men. We need to know. We need to know it. And it really is preparing us for the times that are to come. It's a perfect preparation for Jacob's trouble. So your backyard, your balcony, your local park, your local tent place where you can set up tents, like by your lake or by your river, or you can just find a spot. If you have to go to work every day, do the best you can. If you can't set up a tent in your house, you have all these restrictions, and I know we all have all these special accommodations. Have every meal and spend as much time outside as possible. You need to be outside. You need to take your kids to the park. You need to be outside as much as possible because you need to experience that that. You have to, when you take your kids to the park, you have to take snacks, you have to prepare. Start off there, and next year you might be like, okay, I'm gonna get my camp location right now. If you have not planned for, if you don't have plans for this year, start making your plans right now for next year. You have a whole year to make those plans, and just really, really work on that. Really, really, really work on that, because liquor is referred, Bridget Butler, liquor is referred to as spirits by people who didn't drunk off of liquor. Liquor is permissible in the Bible. You're not gonna get around that. You don't get drunk. Strong drink is actually, if you read in what it tells you to bring to Sukkot, it says to bring your strong drink. So the issue is people and this thing, this heart thing. The issue is not with the actual alcohol, but you're not supposed to get drunk, so you wouldn't even evoke any spirits if you weren't getting drunk. Yeah, I think that's all I have. I really appreciate all of you listening, and I hope that it really, really strikes you somewhere that really makes you think about the condition of your heart. Think about which person you are and what you've been entrusted with, and what your response is, and how it sounds, to the Father, and how He's going to respond. Because He knows what you have. He knows your resources. He knows what you don't have. He knows how you're wasting it. And I'm not just talking, I'm talking to me too. Yeah, it's all there. I see a comment and I just have to address it. I don't know about a gathering in New York. I'm coming to New York, but I don't know about a gathering there because I don't know a lot of information. I'll have much more information after. Not all this crazy, unhealthy stuff. We'll see, you just categorize all alcohol as crazy and healthy because there are actually liquors like alcohol made from grapes. My husband used to work for a winery, and the condensed form of the grapes that is taken from the winery as it's allowed to ferment, that makes the alcohol content go up, is actually used across a bunch of liquors. So when we make statements about alcohol or anything, we have to make sure that when we're making them, that the people that we're making them to do not have information about those things. There are things that are bad for you. There's wine that has arsenic in it if you get it from certain places. But to lump everything into one place is not always good. All right, so I want you guys to have a blast at your feast days. I want you all who did not prepare to do the best you can on short notice and begin to do so. Do it to the best of your ability. If you don't have a calendar, if you're not convinced of a calendar, pick one and do it. And then as you learn more, you can change it. You always reserve the right to change your mind once you get more information. That's going to be the standard. Who it doesn't okay, so it's just be prepared, be ready, and we're starting 3rd, 4th, between those times, based upon everything. We have family in the land and other places, so between the 3rd and the 4th. We'll officially be starting on the 4th, but people are allowed to come set up between the 3rd and the 4th. So that's how that's gonna work with us. And yeah, we'll be going from the 3rd, 4th to the 11th, 12th. So I'm looking forward to everybody who's coming to California to hang out with us. And I do not recommend a calendar, I'm sorry. But I will probably this year at Sukkot, we will probably go into depth on why we keep our calendar, and we will record it so that people can see when it is. Candace, I won't be in Baltimore. I will be in New York. I was trying to get close to Baltimore, so I don't know exactly when I'll be there. Okay, but I have to go because I actually am supposed to be Sukkot shopping. I have to get some things, and we're stockpiling some food and some other things. So if my husband is open to doing the video on the calendar and kind of why we do it the way we do it, then we will. Everyone else, do the best you can. Take pictures, share them, send them to me. I want to see how we are going to do the best we can and show the Father that even amongst the nations and the heathens that we can do the best we can. All right? Shalom, shalom.